What's up, guys? It's Wes. So this video is going to be something a little different. I know I say that probably about every video, but in this case it's true because the gimmick of this episode is there is no gimmick. We're just going to paint. That's it. I haven't used Krita in a while. I want to get back to Krita. The community's been doing some cool stuff, and I've had to, update it and kind of get back to it. I feel like I've neglected Krita a little bit. I feel bad about that. Truly feel bad about that because, as you all know, or if you're new to the channel, you may not know, I love Krita so much I wrote a book about it. Link to it will be in the description, but I have a whole video talking about the book and what's in it. And, if it's your thing, if you're interested, there it is. But really, I get so caught up in kind of the illustration side and hitting deadlines and then trying to think of like good art theory stuff and maybe exercises or tutorials or creating brush packs for patrons or for release. I get so caught up in the minutia of the job that sometimes I just don't paint. I paint with a deadline in mind, or I paint with an idea or this big, let's make something grand and sweeping for the YouTube channel. But every once in a while, it's just nice to get a program that that you love, and just make something, So that's what we're going to do this time. I will narrate it. We are going to have a time lapse. I already have something kind of made up. It's a castle in a mountain. It's really dirty and sloppy right now, but we're going to see what we can get into. I got some new brushes, got some new bundles, all that stuff. So let's see. Let's take Krita for a spin and just talk about why it should be on every digital artist's hard drive. And here we go. So yeah, we're in Krita. It's the newest version, Krita 5.2, I believe. And yeah, it's just been a minute, man. It's been a little bit since messing with Krita. So I went over to the Krita artist community forums and checked out if there's any new kind of goings on and happenings, because that's what, cool young people say is goings on and happenings. But I went over there and sure enough, over the past like 6-7 months, it's been pretty crazy over there. It's been good stuff. So for those that don't know, let's just talk about Krita in general. It is free to download. I highly recommend donating to the Krita Foundation. It's something that, every little bit helps. So while I do say, yes, Krita is free, if you do have even a few extra dollars available, I do recommend just donating to make sure it can stay as free as possible. I know that sounds weird, but, if you just give a little, it's going to ensure that Krita has a really far reach. And you can get it for Mac, you can get it for Windows, and you can get it for Linux. And I love it. Like we said in the intro, I loved it so much, I dedicated to write a 300+ page book about it. And yeah, same as it ever was. It's super, super good. It's open-ended. It's open source. A lot of people making some really cool stuff for Krita. Namely, a few things I'm going to be using in this painting. So I have kind of the basic stuff down. I used my Photoshop brushes to kind of get things going and then imported this into Krita because I wanted to try these new brushes, like thick paint brushes. Now, I have a video way back when, during like the Krita 4 days, whenever the RGBA brushes first came out. And those were really good at kind of mimicking that traditional painting style. But these brushes are crazy because they are closer to something like Art Rage or Rebel than even the RGBA brushes, which are still great. And I'm going to be using a variety of brushes, but I'm going to link this bundle. I might get the name wrong. Let me glance at it real quick. Memilio 360 Lite, I believe. Yeah, it's a thread. You're going to see some links to like the bundle file. It's safe to download. It's about 120 megs. And basically you just import it through your resources tab on Krita. I think there's a tutorial on the thread where you can download it on there, so you can be sure to get it in there. These are kind of heavy brushes. Like they run a little bit, not slower, but there's more happening whenever you put a paint stroke down. And depending on the pressure, how much transfer and how much scrape, there's a lot going on here. Very much does remind me of Art Rage or Rebel. So let's say you're on a super limited budget and you want to try your hand at like this really nice kind of wet into wet a la Prima, tradigital. I've heard that term thrown around and I like it quite a bit. Tradigital artwork. This is a great way to go because Krita is free. You can download it. You get this brush pack. You can see what it's all about. See if it's a thing that you might like. And I really enjoyed this. I had a blast with it. It is a little bit different than how I normally work simply because I do this thing. I'm of two minds in my art mind lately. And this is kind of a, everybody has their own like inner artist turmoil struggle stuff. Mine is that balance between, being a trained atelier oil painter and knowing how to do that and being very comfortable. That's kind of like my comfort food, but also trying to work on the illustrative, fantastical, from imagination stuff is a different part of my brain. And that's my job. I mean, I do sci-fi and fantasy work and worked with all kinds of people, but it's different. And I don't know why it's different. And I think, 2024, I've dedicated to kind of trying to bridge the gap and brute force my way into making it work. And I mean, you could argue, hey, dude, you've already worked in Star Wars and Warhammer. Like, it's working pretty good, which, yeah, sure. But, there's the small little quirks about the styles that for me still don't mesh the way they should. And I feel like I'm going to whenever I discover what the balance is, it's going to be like splitting the atom. I'm going to be like, oh, I found it. Like the Reservoir Dogs, they open up the briefcase and you see like the Holy Grail or something. And like the light comes up and I'll be like, whoa, that's what I'm after. And I'll probably never find it, but Krita is a great place to try, especially with these brushes. So I just like it. And sometimes just painting something doesn't have to be, some deep philosophical thing. It's just, hey, this thing might look cool. Let me try to put this brush here and see what happens. And that's what this painting is. There's no, like I said in the intro, there's no big sweeping thing. It's just Krita's good. And you should probably download it. I always, if I'm, teaching or, if people want recommendations, I always think that having Krita on your hard drive is a solid bet because it's always there. You know what I mean? Like it's there, it works. There's no subscription fee. The only, cost is your time on kind of learning things. Like there's subtle nuances that are a little different, like the color picker, instead of the Alt button on a keyboard, it's the Control button on a keyboard. You can change that in your settings, of course, but just out of the box, there's certain things that are a little different. Some of the way the blending modes work, a little different than what you might be used to in a Clip Studio or Photoshop or, Corel Painter or something. But Krita's just good. It's just good to have. And it's, me, I've always said that the more tools you have at your disposal, the better. Because even opening up and importing a piece, kind of like what I did here, importing a piece that you started in another program and then like sending it to another program or even like 2 or 3 programs and kind of hopping between them will let you utilize the strengths of each program for what they do, or for what you feel comfortable doing in them, I should say. Because technically you can do all of this with a hard round brush. Sure, it might take 30 years, but you can do it, So I'm of the opinion that a majority of digital art programs kind of work the same. It's a balance on what you find important on your creative journey, on the way that you work. Do you work with a ton of layers? Are you a fan of like the gauntlet method where it's just like one layer, no undos, you just paint for paint sake? That's going to dictate kind of what you're more into as far as a program. But the nice thing about Krita is it feels very neutral. And I don't mean that in like a wishy-washy way. I mean, Krita is what you make it. As you can see here, like these brushes that I'm using that have the thick paint, the nice impasto, and it's catching the light just right, and like the nice wet rendering. These didn't even exist a year ago. Back when I wrote the book, these brushes did not exist. You know what I mean? Like, since this is open source, since it's something that can always change, always be built upon, you should probably just have it installed. You know what I mean? Like, why not? And then you just update it whenever there's a big update, or if you're part of the Krita community and you make some friends there, like, yeah, you can hype each other up, and then you're part of what's making Krita kind of a staple in the industry. And if you want to talk about heavy hitters that use Krita on the regular, you look at people like Philip Soma, you look at people like, Dave Raposa, Craig Mullins, for God's sake, uses Krita. So, I mean, yeah, it's worth the download. Like, all it takes is your time, and I know I'm like, it feels weird, like I'm selling a free product or something, you know what I mean? But like, it's good. And having it's going to open up some opportunities for you if you don't have it already. Yeah, I recommend getting it. It's good. The pencils feel great. That's the thing. I'm going to do, I had this idea. It was either going to be this video or a video where I just do sketching, but I'm still nervous to do that one. so you guys are getting this one first. But I love the way Krita, the pencils and graphite and stuff just feels amazing. Like, it's maybe not as quote unquote realistic as like a Rebel would be, but I think I think they work faster, and I think they're a little bit more predictable in Krita. So we're going to take a look at that, and I think that's going to be a great way to kind of start up the digital sketchbook, even though I'm terrified of doing that. But really, it's just, there's so many little tweaks and moving parts and things you can do, and change your own layout, and you make your own hotkeys and make your own toolbar, and you can really make Krita whatever you want it to be. And you can tell my setup is very much like Photoshop. I set it almost up verbatim, and I like doing that. I like having all of my art programs set up exactly the same way, which seems counterintuitive, because wouldn't you want to use the strengths of each one? But I do. I pick and choose. But then the brushes are always going to be on the left-hand top side menu. And, I'm always going to have a navigator, some sort of small thumbnail in the top right corner. And then the color wheel under that. And then something else, maybe like hue saturation, and then layers at the bottom. It's just what my brain's used to. So I'm not kind of digging around menus and, the more you're digging around menus, or what button is this, and what do I click here, and the more you do that, the less you're working, and you're just kind of fighting the program. So the fact that Krita, you can just put stuff where you want it and it stays there. You can save it as its own workload. That way, if you have to get a new computer or something, you just re-up that file and then you're good to go. A lot of fun. It is. It's weird because there's not a ton to say about Krita, because it just works. It's there, and it does what you need it to, and it's a workhorse. And knock on wood, I've used Krita since like Krita 3. I've never had it crash on me ever. So it's a testament to, the fact that it's free, doesn't crash. Hell, Photoshop 2024 crashed yesterday while I was working, and I have to pay monthly for that one. You know what I mean? Like, so the fact that it's stable, it works, it has these cool community features, it has custom made stuff that's freely available, great community forums, the devs listen and they try to integrate stuff. If it's a really good idea and it fits with their plan, they're more than happy to listen. Just great stuff all the way around. And yeah, these brushes are nuts, man. Like, I was so happy using these that, yeah, it's kind of a game changer. And, I'm not going to use Krita for every single painting, I don't think, just because I have I think I literally have 12 art programs on my desktop right now. So it's one of those that once you have so many options, you can't really make a decision. But maybe after something like this, and maybe after more of the sketchbook style stuff, and we start getting into that, maybe Krita is one that I open up, 3-4 times a week and you make some stuff. So who knows, man? It can definitely do it. I mean, some of my work I did on Star Wars, I used Krita. I wanted to make some pieces in every single art program that I had. So Krita definitely makes an appearance on that stuff. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just, I just wanted to paint, and you guys are here for the journey. And I know there's a lot of love for Krita, and rightfully so. So I want to preach to the choir, because if you preach to the choir, that's what keeps them singing. And that's sort of what this is. I mean, Krita's good. You should download it. It's going to do anything you need it to. In fact, if you're new to digital art, I actually recommend Krita as your first download, because it's going to teach you some fundamentals as far as not just art, but as far as like layer management and like saving files and opening stuff and importing things. And if you're into like photo bashing, it can do that really well. And like learning what layer blending modes do. And like, it has all of the stuff that you need. I would always hear people recommend GIMP. I don't really. I'm a more visual person. I think, GIMP has its place, and if you can use it, great. But something tells me you had a hell of a learning curve ahead of you. It's funny, we talked about the Krita book because I actually had to use GIMP to do some of the to take the screenshots, the snapshots for it. That's what the program they used, and so I got a full heaping helping of that. So I was painting and making a tutorial in Krita and using GIMP to export the images, which is ironic, but it is what it is. Yeah, I just recommend everybody get it. Just, it's, what is there to lose? And you're part of the community. You get to see this stuff exist. Like these brushes, I still can't believe these brushes just did not exist a year ago. And now they're here and they're free and they're awesome. And they can punch way above their weight class, because you're thinking, if Rebel's $180 and Art Rage is $90, and even PaintStorm Studio, as much as I love it, it's $20, which is not bad, but hey, that's money out of your pocket. But if you want that wet blend, if you want that nice, thick impasto painting look, you should give these a shot. Like I said, link is going to be in the description. I like this, and I just felt like doing a more relaxing, abstract painting. I just think that's kind of where it was at on this one. I did a highly rendered thing a bit ago, so I felt like just relaxing. That's my time. Yeah, Krita, it's great. You should get it. Everyone should get it. Like I said, it's on Mac, it's on Windows, it's on Linux. And yeah, it's been a powerhouse. It's been a workhorse for years. And I see that definitely, continuing into the future. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about Krita. What has your experience been like using Krita? Have you ever used it before? If not, hopefully you download it. Let me know what you think in the comments. But if you're an old Krita Pro like I am, let me know what kind of your favorite features are, and maybe we can highlight some of those down the line. And then, you can yell at me for not doing my sketchbook stuff. Sketching. Anyway, that's a whole other video. All right. You guys take care. We'll talk to you soon. Go get Krita. Bye.